Hello, I'm Travis Turner, and welcome to the We Are Intentional podcast. You have survived 2020 and perhaps set a goal going into the new year of improving your health, your fitness, losing weight, exercising, or more. Maybe by now you've already slacked off a little bit, losing focus on those goals. Well, today we're going to help you out. We're going to help you to get unstuck in your goals. I have a special guest who can help us. He's got a lot to share, so let's dive right in. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Travis Turner, and I pastor Grace Church here in Rupert, Idaho. And I'm excited because I really felt like one of the new things that we were supposed to do this year is this podcast. And so this is our very first of hopefully many different podcasts that we do. And you know, it's interesting how many people will have a word for the year. It seems like that becomes more and more popular. And I really felt like my word for the year, and it's a powerful word for me, is the word intentional. And so I thought, you know what, going into 2021, and if intentional is my word, then there's a lot of things in my own life that I've probably not been the most intentional about. And so the whole idea of this intentional living podcast is really to address some of those topics that that I see in my own personal life, but then also, really finding out what other people are struggling with and want some information about. Certainly, we're not experts in any field, but I do believe that just by opening dialogue and having conversation, I think that a lot of people can receive some sort of an education, but then also be encouraged, to make some differences and some changes in their life. And so today I'm excited. I've got my good friend, my new friend, Caleb Metzger, with me. And Caleb, I just want you to know the very first episode that I really felt like God was wanting us to do was to talk about goal setting. And I even know why this was the first episode, is because here we are, we've moved in from a very difficult year, a tough year, the year 2020, we've moved into 2021. And what does everybody do at the beginning of a new year? They start a New Year's resolution. And I love that. I've always been a person that it's like, let's do something different this year. And so I kind of look back and reflect on my own life. And so I've got some New Year's resolutions. But going into this year, there was something, Caleb, that really just stood out to me. And that was through conversations just with random people. I'd ask them, hey, what's your New Year's resolution? And more people than more people responded with, you know what, I just don't do those anymore. I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore. And so I started asking the question, why? Why don't you do New Year's resolutions? And the same answer continued to come up. I don't do them because I'm tired of not accomplishing, the goals that I set out. And that really kind of just broke my heart a little bit. I thought to myself, I was like, man, what a tragedy that people are not even raising the bar at all in their life because they already are defeated in their mind. And so it also caused me, sir, to do some research on, Google. I went out to Google and I was like, okay, in 2020, since we had that whole year that we spent, in 2020, what were the percentage of people that did a New Year's resolution? And the information that I was able to come up with, 50% of all Americans, of course, that can make New Year's resolutions. This isn't taking into consideration little kids, but only 50% of people are doing New Year's resolutions. And the other staggering statistic is 20% of those people are continuing in their New Year's resolution by the time that 2020 hits. And so you've seen this. We're going to be talking about goals and fitness today, but you've seen this where, man, the gyms are flooded with people in January.
Yes,
Matter of fact, the people that work out all year long, they are so frustrated because, man, they can't get on the right equipment. You know, they're having to wait in line because there's all of us New Year's resolution guys that just flood the gym, and we start eating things like kale and drinking protein shakes and all of those things. But anyhow, we're going to be talking about goals and the importance in goals, and should we set goals? And I just want you to know, sir, that I think that you are the perfect person for this number one podcast that we're doing here today, because you have overcome some things and you have set some goals, and not only have you set them, but you have achieved them. And why don't you just take a moment and just share with everybody today just a little bit about who you are, and then we'll go into what it is that you've accomplished.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here. It's a privilege to be here. My name's Caleb. I've always been somewhat athletic growing up, starting back in high school. I did 5 different sports. I was primarily a runner for the first 3 years. Did cross country, track and field. I thought I was somewhat decent runner. And then I tried
in pretty decent shape, probably your whole life.
Yeah. I was a smaller, faster guy, so it worked out great for me. My senior year, I transitioned into football, basketball, and baseball. So brand new sports for me. Loved all 3 of them.
What position did you play in football?
I played safety.
Okay.
And I played a little bit of running back, and I played a lot of kickoff.
Nice.
Special teams.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Probably on the outside where you could go down and make all the tackles, right?
Yeah. Big guy like me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I joined the Navy. Was able to go serve for a few years, so obviously had to keep up my physical training there. And then after that, I kind of lost some of that fitness. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I started getting back into the fitness world and really starting to chase those dreams. And here I am now. It's a couple
that's
years
awesome.
later.
So when you say you lost it, are you just telling us that you weren't as active? Did you start softening up? Were you losing some muscle?
I definitely softened up. I started gaining some weight.
Sure.
As I said, I used to be a smaller, leaner kind of guy. So people never really saw the weight that I was gaining, but I saw it every day.
Sure.
I saw it in my face. I saw it in my stomach. Nobody wants to see that. I really wasn't being active at all. I was spending all my time either in my room, watching Netflix, binge watching the next
it's amazing
Netflix
how
show.
much time you can
There's
just
so
let
much
go
time
by.
you can waste doing that. Yeah.
Get in a new series, and the next thing you know, in one day you've watched 10 episodes.
It's done. So I was either doing that, or I was sometimes partying. I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle.
Sure.
And so. I eventually had to change that.
Yeah. So was it did it begin with a New Year's resolution, or was this something that just happened mid-year?
It actually happened towards the end of the year, end of 2018.
Okay.
I had a friend, and she actually did Spartan racing.
Sure.
And I had never heard of that before, and I was intrigued. And so I started learning a little bit about, Spartan racing, and it kind of clicked inside me, like, hey, I want to do that. And so December 27th, I started working out because I didn't want to wait for the new year.
Now this is 2019, 2018?
2018.
Okay, 2018
Yes,
in December.
Yes.
You're like, I'm getting a head
2
start.
days after Christmas, I said, I'm going to get a little bit of a head start.
I'm not going to be that newbie going to the gym.
Yeah, I said,
my brand new shoes on.
Yep, brand new Nikes. Yeah, I said, I'm going to go buy all my Nike stuff. And, Nike's the brand.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I actually started off with Beachbody.
Okay.
Started off with Insanity by Sean T.
You know what? You're not going to believe this, but myself and another friend of mine, Jay Rodriguez, we completed that Insanity. And you want to talk, that's a no joke. That is a no joke workout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, it just, when I first started off, it was hard. Just sweating like crazy. I couldn't do a full movement without having to stop and take breaks. But that was where I started.
Sure.
Just to try and lose weight. I had seen commercials about Insanity before. Sure. So I figured I'll try that. And so I did Insanity and then just started moving on from there in order to try and get myself prepared for a race. I hadn't done a race since high school. So.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. And so if you don't mind me asking, I'm sure you don't, but what was your body fat percentage when you started, would you say, and what is it now? Like, what are some of the results that you've seen?
So when I started, I was pushing probably about 190 pounds.
Okay.
And it was mostly all in my stomach, my stomach,
listen,
my face.
You're talking my language.
Yeah. If I had to guess at my body fat percentage, at least 25 to 30%.
Sure.
I didn't have any muscle. I was, it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Your muscle was hiding.
There we
go.
Was there. It was hiding.
Yeah.
It was all just very well hidden. I was protecting it.
Yeah, that's exactly
I wasn't ready
right.
to show it yet. So.
Yeah.
And so, from that point to now, I've dropped down to 155 pounds.
Awesome.
And I actually just did my scale today, and I'm at 12.5% body fat.
That's incredible, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's so awesome. Just, a couple years ago, really, you're like, I want to make these adjustments and these changes. And today, you break into the 12%,
yes.
Body fat. I did one of those body composition deals, and it wasn't like extensive or anything like that. But last year I did one, and I wasn't in the worst shape, but I was probably about 260. The heaviest I've ever been was 287. And I woke up and I jumped on the scale, and I'm like, I'm 13 pounds away from the big 300. Are you kidding me? And so I start, this has been my struggle. What we're talking about today has been, just my fitness and my health and taking real good care of myself. But I was probably about 260, 265, and I did one of those and I feel pretty good. Like right now I'm 242, and I feel like a champion. I want to get down to the 220s.
Feel on top of the world.
Yeah, come on. And at 260, I feel all right. But I did one of those body composition deals, and they said I was like 35%, and it says it was close to morbidly obese. And I thought to myself, what have you done?
Right.
I mean, even just the word obese, like I'd just love to get out of that category.
Yeah.
And I know all body types are different, but it's really good to shoot for.
It is.
As far as goals go.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's huge. So you've done Spartan Races. How many Spartan Races? And I'm going to have you share with us later what those are. But how many races have you done?
I've done 5 races so far.
Okay, very cool. And I also understand that you've done another challenge called 75 Hard. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook about 75 Hard. I'm really not super familiar with it. So tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so 75 Hard was created by Andy Frisella, who, he's got his own amazing backstory, and he created this program in an effort to help people.
Sure.
He was looking for something to change people, and he said, this is it. So basically, it's a very few simple rules. You do 2 workouts a day.
Okay.
45 minutes each at least. one indoor, one outdoor, no matter what, he says. You know, if it's raining, if it's freezing.
It doesn't matter.
It's a winter here. It's, you know, it's cold. So 2 workouts a day, a gallon of water a day. You have to read 10 pages of a self-growth book every day.
Okay.
You have to take a progress photo every day, even if you don't like it.
All right. Now, is this without your shirt on? Is this
typically it's without the shirt, so you can see the improvements.
Sure.
So you can look back later on and say, hey, I'm not that guy anymore, or that woman.
Yeah.
And then you have to find some kind of meal plan. It doesn't have to be anything super strict, but there's no alcohol, no sweets, no junk food. So let's say even if you're doing, you know, intermittent fasting, where sometimes there's a little bit of leeway because of the way that works.
I've done that before, and it does. It really, really works if you do it properly.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if you're doing that within the rules of 75 hard, you still, you know, no junk food whatsoever.
Sure.
No anything.
Not an M&M.
He says it straight up. He says if you take one M&M, you fail 75 hard. You start over from day one.
Okay, so this is what I wanted some clarity on, is that this is 75 days straight.
Yes.
That you are working this regiment. You're disciplined.
Yes.
If you miss the second workout, you start over all the way back to day one.
That's correct.
All right.
The big thing that he points out, this is somewhat of a stricter challenge. It's, you know, it's a hard one, and it's supposed to be. That's his whole point, is about self-discipline.
Yeah.
And so say you're on day 74 and you forget to take your progress photo, you start over on day one.
Right on. You know, that progress photo, there was a guy that probably one of the greatest leaders that I've ever met, but he shared something with me that I've kind of made, kind of a life motto, and it really falls into the taking your picture every single day. And that is this. He said that whenever you monitor and measure the things that matter, they always get better. And so there's a lot of people that I've talked to that are on, they're ambitious about getting healthy. They're ambitious about, getting back to the gym and those kinds of things, but they're afraid of the scale.
Right.
And I never really understood that. It's like they'll put in all this work, but they're afraid of the scale because, it might be discouraging. I can understand it, but I'm like, listen, I'm a results guy.
Yes.
And I want to monitor and measure what I'm after. I'm after losing weight right now, and there's only really one thing that's going to show that I've lost weight, and that's that scale.
True.
So I'm not afraid of it. I embrace it, and I love that my pants are fitting better, but I also want to see it.
It's always a good feeling.
And I know muscle weighs more and all those different things, but yeah, I think it's a pretty cool part of the 75 Hard that they make you snap a picture.
Yes, I do too. I do too.
So
and it's great being able to see that.
Sure.
You don't always see the day-to-day changes, and then you look back a couple weeks and it, surprises even yourself, like, wow, like, look at how much I've changed.
Yeah, that's huge. And so anyway, committed to the gym. How many times have you done 75 Hard?
This is my second time doing it.
Second time.
Yes.
How many times have you attempted to do 70? Like, have you had to restart the 75 days? Tell us a little bit about. Okay, really?
No, I was able to successfully complete it on my first try.
Okay.
But I do know people, it's very common. It's a hard challenge. And so I know people who have, their fourth try, their fifth try. But they're still doing it. That's what's awesome, is they're still coming back and they're not giving up.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a community in that? I mean, what keeps people, connected in that? Like you're into it 30 days and then all of a sudden you got to reset because you found yourself in a weak moment and you had something you shouldn't. I mean, what keeps somebody from just saying, you know what, this is the craziest thing. I'm not doing it no more. Is there a community, or do you have support, or is it all just like, you need to have discipline, and every tub sits on its own bottom?
It's kind of a mixture of both. The first time I did 75 hard, I also knew some friends that were doing it. We kind of all started at the same time. That way we could have that accountability.
Yeah.
Obviously, through social media, it's very easy to find groups.
Sure.
There's pages on Facebook for everything nowadays.
I've seen them.
So there are 75 hard pages, and where those kind of like-minded people can hold each other accountable. But you also have to have that self-discipline. You can't rely necessarily on somebody else to do this for you. This time I'm doing it on my own. So, I still go through the social media groups that I'm in, and I get motivated by the stories I see and all of that. But I'm out there every day. It kind of, it's just on my own, just relying on the self-discipline.
Yeah. I got a question for you on that, and then we'll move on. But how hard is it to drink a gallon of water every single day? I've done it a few days, and I'm like, you know what? You really have to, you got to work a plan if you're going to drink a gallon of water in a day.
Yeah, it's actually a lot harder than I thought.
Yes.
I knew I didn't drink quite enough water when I first started, but I thought, by the time I started 75 hard, I'd been training, and, I was used to working out by then, so I thought I drank enough water. But I was shocked at how much a gallon is. It's just another thing you have to, throughout the day, remind yourself. You have to have the discipline to make sure you're drinking, because you don't feel like drinking water all the time.
Yeah. And there's only, I guess you can mix it up by, they've got all kinds of additives that are 0 calorie. What did they say about those?
They do say it needs to be plain water.
Oh, plain water.
Man, I love my aminos, right?
Sure,
but I can't mix in my grape aminos and just chug a gallon of that. It's got to be just flat out water.
I love the discipline side, because honestly, I think that's some of our biggest problems is we lack discipline. Right. Okay, so I want to shift back real quick to New Year's resolutions. Why do you think in years past that New Year's resolutions have been so popular? Like, everybody's gotten on board. I know we were seeing a shift of people kind of going away from them, and I think that's sad. But why do you think they're so popular? What happens in December, and one day being no different than the next day? Why are so many people geared up on, man, this is what I'm doing, January 1?
I think a lot of it is just, it gives people hope.
Yeah.
It's, for a lot of people, a new year is just, there's so much promise and future that the next year can hold. And maybe people throughout the year, I think maybe people don't always look at how the year is going until all of a sudden they look back and they're like, wow, it's the end of the year.
Wow.
Like, I didn't do as much as I wanted to. So this next year, let me make a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Let me, take it to the next level. And this time I'm gonna change everything. And so I think it just gives people hope.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. The hope of being able to reset. Right. I think that one thing that definitely happens with me is, at the end of every year, man, I start doing some self-evaluation. Right. And I'm like, man, and it's during those times where I am able to celebrate successes. A lot of people aren't. They won't allow themselves to. But I can celebrate successes, but I can also be the hardest on me than anybody can. Of course. And so, in that kind of self-reflection, I find areas every year, and my weight is definitely one of them that's always there, man. You know what? I want to change this. I'm not happy about, I'm not happy that I'm fat and out of shape, and I can't reach down and tie my shoes without having to hold my breath. And I'm thinking, I'm 50, but you know what? I want to be this year in some of the best shape that I've ever been in my whole life. And there's no reason why I can't.
There's not.
Yeah. So anyway, what do you think about this? Do you think that some people make New Year's resolutions because there's an expectation that you have one? And in the event that this is a two-part question, in the event that that's why somebody's putting something out there, how successful do you think they're going to be just because they have to, they feel an obligation to do something?
That is a good question. I do think that some people, it's kind of the theme. Hey, well, it's New Year's. I better do this because if I don't, then people will think that, well, man, you don't have any goals, and so I think some people do get into that mindset, and so they try to come up with something, and it could be something good. It's not, but to answer your second question, I don't think the success is nearly as high because it's not something they truly want. It's not something that they thought of on their own just based off of a desire to change.
Sure.
It's based off of what they think the expectation is from other people.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big important part. If you don't have the right reason, then it won't work out quite as well as you'd like.
Yeah, I've always said, man, you got to know your why in anything. And if your why is broken, you're probably not going to be super. Like if you don't have conviction,
right.
My conviction is that, I want to do what everybody else is doing. That's going to last about this long.
Yeah.
So I did something that was kind of fun. I did a search on the top New Year's resolutions of the year 2020, and so I just want to read these, some of these here to you, and then we can talk about any of them if you want to. But guess what was at the top of the list?
Probably exercise more, be a little healthier.
And there's a few of them that fit into that category. So lose weight, eat healthier, and start exercising more. So those are three different ones, but they're towards the top. And then get organized, which is a big one for me too. Organization. Yeah. I'm not the most organized person. I got a wonderful wife, man. She's got a place for everything.
Care of it for
That's right. That's right. But I can certainly get better in that area. Another one was earn more money, make new friends, start a business, which is similar, get out of debt, and then one it's kind of broad, but learn something new or read more. Another one is stop procrastinating. And so any of those just kind of stick out to you? Do you have any thoughts on any of those that we shared?
I think those are all, they're good goals, all of them. Some of those are bigger. Starting a new business, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are all things that I think people should strive for.
Sure.
Especially just some of those basic ones, eating better, exercising more. I think some of those ones that might seem smaller are some of the most important ones. To be honest,
Yeah, and if you've got a big, let's just hit this real quick because I think you can speak to it. If you've got a big goal, and it's not something that you're just going to be able to, hammer out in a day,
right?
What do you tell somebody? They got multiple. It's multifaceted. Starting a business, there's a lot that goes into it. But what do you tell that person that could get overwhelmed by like, man, there's too much? What do you tell them?
You tell them to keep it simple.
Yeah,
that's one of
I like that.
That's something that I've figured out throughout my goals that I've chased and throughout some of these books that I've read. It's a very key part. You don't look at the entire picture. You take it one day at a time.
Sure.
It's if you're always focused on the bigger picture, it will be overwhelming.
Sure.
You can't drop 20, 30 pounds in a week, in a day.
I don't care how much you're working out,
right.
How hard you work, how many times you're working out. It's not going to happen.
It takes time, and you have to put in that time. And so just focus on the daily things that you can do that will eventually help you achieve that goal.
So what you're saying, if you've got an aerial view, it's like all of this has to happen. What you need to focus on is you need to focus on putting an action plan together that I can manage today. I don't have to worry about that until tomorrow or that until the next day. But I need to break this down into doable parts that I can manage and check off my list. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And I agree with you. I think one of the things that guys like myself can fall into, going back to the fitness thing, is we see guys like you, and there's some infomercial on television. Hey, man, take this pill.
Yeah.
Follow this, and in 2 months, this is going to be you. You know what I'm saying? And so we look at ourselves, and it's like, man, I'd like to look like that.
Right.
I'd like to be 12% body fat. Man, I'd love to be able to do some pull-ups and reps and pull-ups again. And so what we're looking at is the end result, which is that guy that's shredded, right? And we've been working out twice a day and eating kale and drinking water and everything else. Well, 30 days into it, we may look different than how we did, but we still don't look anything like that guy. And so discouragement comes.
Yes.
And so, man, I think that's great. I think that's great advice. And you might even need some help with somebody sitting down with you and saying, okay, like listen, this is how we can break this down into doable parts.
Yeah.
Because we all don't have that knowledge, that head knowledge.
Yeah. You need help sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about Spartan Races. We'll talk about this more, but I had to watch a documentary on Spartan Races, and I did so last night on YouTube. Man, I'm telling you what, my respect for you. I mean, it was already here, right? But it is gone, to a completely different place. I'm impressed. I'm impressed at anybody that signs up, and certainly anybody that has done as many as you. But tell the novice, that may be watching this, what is a Spartan race?
So Spartan Race was created by Joe DeCina.
Okay.
And he had a very clear goal. He wanted to get people off the couch. I believe his initial goal was, I want to get 1 million people off the couch, get them active, get them out doing something. And he created Spartan Racing. And so what it is, you pay to do this.
Yeah.
It's voluntary.
Pay for pain, baby.
You pay for pain. You show up, there's different areas. It could be in the mountains. It could be on a flat course. They do have ones that are inside stadiums.
Okay.
They're a different kind of Spartan race.
Sure.
But they're all over, just everywhere. And you go race different mileage depending on what kind you have. They have a sprint.
And how long is a sprint?
A sprint is 3 miles, and it has 20 obstacles.
Okay.
A lot of people will typically start with a sprint on their first race. It's the shortest mileage. It's still got 20 obstacles, though. Things you would never think of: climbing a rope, jumping over a little fire.
Sure.
Climbing across monkey bars. And some of those things sound simple until you've been running, a mile and a half and you're tired, and then there's some wet monkey bars and you gotta.
And they don't let up. Like the farther you're into the race, it seemed like the farther you're into it, it's not like it gets easier.
No.
It's hardcore all the way through.
Yeah, it's hardcore all the way through. And there's a penalty if you don't hit your challenge. You have to do 30 burpees. For every missed obstacle.
Yes.
Or if you choose, say, if you can't do it, or you just flat out say, I don't want to do that one. Well, you can do the 30 burpees.
Sure.
So there's a sprint, or there's the super, which is about 8 miles and 25 obstacles.
Okay.
And that's the next level up. And then there's the beast, which is a 13 mile.
My goodness.
30 obstacles. And then that's
a half marathon.
It is.
Plus you're doing
30
plus
obstacles.
You're doing the obstacles. Yeah. My goodness.
So those are the 3 common ones. That forms your trifecta. If you were to do one of each, you get a medal and a little wedge at the end. So that's your prize. You get, banana and a nice, really nice looking medal and a shirt. So
Yes.
but then there's kind of levels after that too. There's the ultra, which is a 30-mile, 60 obstacle race. So pretty much you do the beast twice.
Okay.
And then they have hurricane heats, which are some of them are more team oriented. You're doing things in a group. It's not a race. It's a 4, a 12, a 24-hour endurance event. Mm-hmm. And then some of them are more, you're kind of doing some of the obstacles on your own. So there's different ways about it. Mm-hmm. But the 3 most common ones are the sprint, the super, and the beast.
Right on. You've got some medals here. What I was hopeful is you could just take a moment mm-hmm. and show us what these medals, what accomplishments these medals represent, and just give us some understanding on the ones that you've done.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So go ahead.
So I know I've only got 5 here,
only.
But there's some people, man, I got to tell you, there's some people, this is their life, and it just, the way that some people look at 5, I look at these guys, it's just amazing what they can do. So this was my first medal.
Okay.
I did not start with the sprint. I started with the Montana Beast. So I said...
And so the Beast is how long again?
The Beast is a 13-mile, 30 obstacles. I had not run more than a couple miles since high school when I was in cross country. Or, probably in the Navy, but not like the Marines. We don't go out, 10, 15 mile, So, but I said, you know what, I actually got a free race code from a friend who was an administrator at the time of the Spartan group that I'm in.
So with the race code, you didn't have to pay for the race?
Yes,
is that
that's correct.
Okay, cool.
Now, I thought when I got this free race code from this guy, I thought it was for the sprint. And he sent me the code, and it was for the beast.
Wow. So you were kind of forced into...
I kind of was, but I was excited.
Sure.
I said, man, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah. I said, I've been training for a few months. I said, let's go. Let's do it. And this, the reason why this medal looks a little bit different is because it's a mountain series. So, as I said, all these venues can be in different areas, but the mountain series are specifically designed to be, obviously in the mountains, but they're a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
A lot more elevation, You're definitely going to have a tough time. Yeah. But I saw the medal and I said, man, I got to have that. So that was my first race, and it blew me away. Mm. Right away, I was able to kind of just fit in with the community. I did join a Spartan group. It's called Spartan 4.0. Okay. Now, they call it 4.0 because normally there's a lot of, the majority of people are about 40. Okay. 40 and up.
Wow, that's encouraging.
So it is. I'm kind of like, one of those younger people in the group,
sure.
but I love it. I love that they accepted me in there. So I got to meet some 4.0 people there, and they welcomed me in. No big deal, like I was, like I'd been doing it forever. Sure. So, and I was able to help a fellow Spartan friend throughout the race. Her knees had gotten pretty banged up. Mm-hmm. So it was just nice being able to go out and just feel like I was part of something again. Yes. I kind of lost that. Yeah. So that was my first race, and it was a tough one. And then after that, so this was on May 4th.
So let me just ask you real quick, of your medals, is this your favorite?
It is my favorite.
I almost would have guessed that. Because it was such a huge challenge. Yes. And it was your first. Yes. And a lot of times,
the first one you never forget. Yes. And, not only was it my first one, but I got a cool looking medal on top of it. That's different than the other medals. So yeah. And it just looks cool. The green. I like it. So this is definitely my favorite one.
I love that. And I just want to interject here just real quick, and then I'd love to hear some more. But I just want to encourage our listeners, especially, those that all people, but those that have some sort of a relationship with the Lord. I mean, there are some huge promises that God gives us, like He's with us. He'll never forget us. He'll never leave us alone, and we can do things with the Lord, and with His, empowerment that we never thought that we could do.
That's
and
true.
Certainly I believe that this spills over into physical activity and whatnot as well. But maybe I'd love to hear just a little bit about how your faith later on has played part in your Spartan race. I know you've been raised in the church and a great family, and so. But anyway, okay. So what else do we have here?
So my next venue first was in Boise.
Okay.
And I loved it because it was close to home.
Yes.
I didn't have to drive 8 hours to get to this one. And in Boise, they only have a sprint. It's kind of known as one of the easier, smaller venues. They don't have the super or beast options available, but it was so close to home, I figured it was my next step towards my trifecta.
Sure.
So I went there, and I did the first race in the morning with a friend, and I got my first sprint medal.
Wow.
And I felt it was so much fun, and I said, well, man, I challenged myself my first race by doing the beast. I said, how can I challenge myself this time? Mm-hmm. So I decided to run it again later in the afternoon. I paid another $100.
Incredible.
And I said, I want to do this again, just to see how I feel.
Sure.
So I ended up getting 2 medals that day.
Which one was your fastest time, first or second?
The second one.
Is that right?
I gave it my all.
Wow. That's
I
impressive.
cut my time down, and I just had a blast.
Yeah.
I had a blast. So that was the 3-mile, 20 obstacle event.
Yes.
And then... And so my first one was May 4th. That one was, I believe, June 29th.
Okay.
So
yeah,
not too much time. And then July, I went to Utah.
Okay. That's a cool looking medal.
It is
right
a cool
there.
looking medal.
That.
So this one says U.S. National Series because obviously I wasn't competing at the time. I was just doing the open heat.
Sure.
There are different heats that you can do in Spartan racing. The open heat, it's for anybody, young, old, doesn't matter. I saw all kinds of people doing it, and it, never failed to just impress me at how many people were out there doing it. Mm-hmm. But they do have the age.
Just a real quick, how many people sign up for a Spartan race? Like
hundreds.
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds.
Yes.
You will see hundreds of people at these events, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was in the Marine Corps. We were talking about running, and it's incredible how if you're running in formation, with your guys. Running together, you can go so much further without it having the drag on your body. So you might go out and do 10 miles, but a 3-mile run by yourself might be more grueling than that 10-mile one. And so I'm sure that has something to do with what I mean. You're in community. Everybody's got these goals they're setting. You're together. People are probably helping one another out, and you're like, man, if I can just catch that next guy in front of me, so you're probably able to do more, because you're with such a large group of people. So, yeah,
and that's you mentioned helping people out. I was fortunate to be able to help out some people, and sometimes it's just, hey, there's an 8-foot wall, somebody needs a boost.
Sure.
Yes. You see people just selflessly giving out all the help.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see.
Yeah.
So I didn't compete in the national series, but the age group and the elite heat, the best of the best.
Yes.
They do have certain races that are part of a series, and so this is a national series, and so the medals look a little bit bigger, they're a little bit nicer.
Sure.
So I felt nice getting a big medal, even though I wasn't out there, racing with the top dogs.
You wore it next day to work. You're just like, hey,
look at what I got. Yeah. So I did the super, And that's the 8 mile, 25 obstacles.
Sure.
And so this time, to challenge myself, I said, all right, well, now the next day I'm going to come back, I'm going to do the sprint. Because some venues, a lot of venues, you'll have a certain race one day, and depending on the venue, the next day they might have another race.
Sure.
Some venues have a trifecta weekend, which is you do the beast on Saturday or the ultra, because the ultra can take place of the beast.
Wow.
And the next day you do the super and the sprint back to back. So I did the super on Saturday, and then I did the sprint on Sunday.
Wow. So what is it, Caleb? Is it the community? Is it the challenge? Is it the accomplishment? Or is it all? I mean, what drives you now to be reaching for that next race, that larger race with more obstacles? What is it that you think drives you?
A handful of things.
Yeah.
I definitely, one of the biggest blessings for me by doing this was the feeling of being in a community.
Sure.
I felt like I had lost that after the Navy, after sports.
Yes.
You always had that, and you get out.
It's true.
Back in the world, and you kind of feel like you're on your own at times. And
Sure.
so, this was the first time that I felt like I was back in a meaningful community where I could, be amongst people who were, just trying to go out there and do their best.
Sure.
So obviously there's that, and then the competition for me. I've always been a little competitive, and
Right.
now this,
Come on, now you're
next
talking.
time, now I'm going to be, joining the age group to try and be more competitive. Actually, race for a certain spot. Try and hit the podium.
Yeah.
So obviously it's still fun, but now there's a little competitive side to it. So
I love that. Hey, just real quick, how does your faith, how you were raised, learning about the Lord, if at all, how does that play into your mental state, your another tool in your belt to to achieve, to overcome? Is there any connection there?
I think there is.
Yeah.
I believe there is. If you have faith, there's going to be times when you're struggling.
Sure.
And when you have faith, that it just gives you that reassurance. And I'm not saying it's you can just sit back on that and everything's fine, but it gives you more hope. It gives you the confidence. It gives you when certain things happen, there's a reason.
Sure.
And I know that's a common phrase. There's a reason for everything, even if you don't see it.
Yeah.
And that's true. And so when you do have faith, I think that does it helps.
Sure.
In every way.
Yeah. I love that, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I could just see, this is just, some guy, third party, but I could just see how the Lord could even use this at moments in time going forward, because maybe you'll have a voice into somebody's life because of the community, where you can just say, hey, listen, you're going through a hard time. Let me share a little bit about the Lord with you that I've come to, rely upon. And so I believe that being a part of these races also gives you influence in people's lives. And I wouldn't be surprised if that continues to open itself up and be a venue where you can share. Okay, so where do you work out at? This is some of the things that like a guy is wanting to do their first Spartan race, maybe a sprint. Where do you work out? How do you work out? How do you train for something like this? Actually, let me even hit on that more. In this documentary, what I was impressed by is I was impressed at how Spartan athletes are amongst the best athletes in the whole world.
Yes, they are.
Like, you might be a great runner, but Spartan races, you have to have speed, you have to have endurance,
Yes.
you have to have strength, and you have to have agility. So
Yes.
just because you're strong,
Right.
it does not mean that you're going to be an incredible Spartan racer. In
Right.
fact, you might be a professional basketball player getting paid millions of bucks, and you go out in a Spartan race and it eats your lunch.
Yes.
And so, but I thought to myself, they are up there with Olympic athletes.
They are. They really
as
are.
far as, being able to do all things. And so, anyway, how do you train? How do you get ready for your first race? Or do you just find yourself in the middle of it, giving it your best?
Well, so when I first started training, like I said, I started off with Insanity, and I knew that wasn't preparing me for a Spartan race, but I was just trying to lose the weight first.
Sure, you bet.
But pull-ups, doing some of those basic things, pull-ups to work on my grip, push-ups, trying to actually start running, which I'm not going to lie, I barely did. I barely did any running in between any of these races. I kept telling myself...
You had done plenty of that in the past.
I had. I said I got my fair share of running back in the day. I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, running helps, though. It really does.
It's almost like the foundation, it seems
It
like.
is.
Because your legs, in every obstacle, you're going to be carrying, the majority of it.
100-pound
Yeah.
boulder.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of those basic things, that's how I started, right? I wasn't going to a gym at the time because I had just been working out at home. It was simple for me. I didn't really have the dedication at the time to make sure I went to the gym, to drive across town. And
Sure.
So I said, well, man, I'll just work out in my room.
Yeah.
So that's what I did at first. And, that's the nice thing about these Spartan races is you don't have to be, fully prepared. I certainly wasn't when I first went and did the Beast. You'll see people there that are, that might be considered overweight. You'll see people that are older that clearly
all
aren't
shapes and sizes,
all shapes and
backgrounds.
sizes, but they're out there doing it.
That's right.
And that's what amazes me. So now, though, I do go to Impact.
Yeah.
So I know I sound like one of the newbies. I just started in January going to the gym again.
Yeah. You bet. New Year's resolution.
People probably look at me like, "Oh, you're just another one of those guys."
I guarantee you, they would look at me like, "Oh, here you go."
Oh, here we go. I have some friends at work that have been going for a little while, and I had just started kind of feeling an itch to get back on the machines and just see how I how I do. And at this stage of my training, there's a lot of different goals that I have now, and so I'm kind of trying to take things to the next level. And so I felt it would be good for me to go to the gym because there's so much more you can do, unless you're rich and have an amazing home gym, which I don't. So
yeah, I had a plan. I'm going to do a home gym.
Yeah.
And then I started pricing it out. I'm going to spend my $30 someplace else,
Yeah, let them buy all the machines. So I do work out at Impact now.
It's a good gym.
It is a good gym.
I supported that gym for many years.
Yes, I did too. Even before I actually started training and getting back into fitness, I had a gym membership for quite some time, and I just never went.
Yeah.
So
my story.
But they got my full support.
Yes, that's right. We appreciate what you're doing.
They're like, man, you're our number one customer right now.
We don't have to clean up after this guy.
Yep.
We don't have to, he just keeps sending us money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I have a trainer there now.
Awesome.
So just kind of help me because, like I said, I'm newer to the gym.
Yeah.
And even though now I'm more comfortable with, weights, I don't walk in there, feeling like I don't know what to do.
Right.
I still actually don't know a lot of those machines.
Sure.
There's so many different things now, and as every year goes by, it seems like there's more and more out there. So I hired a trainer to help me with my form, get a proper workout schedule going.
Yeah.
Now that I now that I'm not necessarily following Beachbody at home.
Yes.
I needed somebody to help me because I I don't know how
Yes.
to come up with that. So
Yeah. I tell you what, man, this was probably back in October 2020, maybe even September. But anyway, both of and first of all, thank you again for your service to our country, being in the Navy.
Thank you.
I love veterans, and I've been able to stay in contact with some of the guys that I served with. And anyway, one of them posted a challenge on, and I'm sure you've seen this, but it's the 22 push-ups a day for 22 days for veteran suicide. Yes. And so I'm thinking, I haven't done a push-up in ever, but I'm thinking, man, in my mind, I can bang out 22.
No
man,
problem.
Sign me up. I went to do my first 22 push-ups, and I barely got to 5. My arms were shaking.
Your shoulders are like,
you know what I mean? Everything was hurting. And I wasn't even coming close to a push-up where, I was going down probably
acceptable.
maybe about 6 inches, but I'm thinking, man, but then I'm looking at the video because you record yourself, and I'm thinking, man, not only am I terribly weak, my form, it's not even a right push-up. And so I sent a message back to my buddy that tagged me in that, and I'm saying, listen, give me 20 days, and I need to get up to where I can do 22 push-ups, and then I'll begin. And he's like, yeah, no problem. I knew I wasn't going to do girl push-ups. Like I wasn't going to do. I was not
doing the girl
I wasn't going
push-ups.
to. God bless the person that wants to lean against the wall, but that was not going to be me. And
you're like,
so,
I've been in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that. My friends will never let me hear the end of that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Those guys would have ate my lunch, man. You know how that is. But it took me literally about 15, 20 days to be able to do 22. And I'm telling you, I would do that 20-second push-up, still not good form, but I would do it, and I would be like, thank you that is done. Like, it took everything. And so with me, man, that's when I was like, you know what, you got to do something. You got to get back into the gym, because in my mind, I was a lot stronger than I truly was. And so anyway, I started going to MC Fitness here in Rupert, and I love that gym. You never have a problem getting on any machine that's there, or any of the tools that they have, doing cardio and things like that. But my son introduced me to a really great gym that I go to now, and once again, I want to give a shout out to MC Fitness, but here in Rupert. But my son took me out to Factory Fitness. It's all the way on the other side of Burley. But I'm just telling you what, man, the vibe that I get there, and they've got all the new equipment and
all kinds of
different and I get bored easy. So I'm like, the more the better. So I'm one of those guys, I got to change up my routine. And so anyway, I've been going out there, and I just love it. Some days, you'd be proud of me, man. Some days I'll go out there twice a day.
That's awesome.
Get a morning workout, and then go back and maybe do some cardio in the evening. But just want to give a big shout out to all 3 of these gyms. We've got Impact Athletic that you go to, and you've got a community of people that do Spartan Races with you that go there as well. Is that right?
There are. I don't know a lot of them, but I do see. There's actually a guy I see almost every day now, and I just see he's got a Spartan shirt on, or a Spartan jacket. So he and I, hey, how you doing? You see that, and it just kind of clicks. So.
Yes. Yeah, that's huge. It helps, I'm sure. It's like, hey, you're my people. It's like when I see somebody with a Marine Corps shirt on. It's like, those are my people.
Yeah.
Another big shout out to MC Fitness right here in Rupert. If you're in Rupert, it's a great gym, clean all the time. And then also Factory Fitness, man. I just really, and it's a huge warehouse, and so you're never on top of anybody. They got this cool thing there. It's like a turf. And you can actually push sleds. I remember pushing the sled when I was in football in high school.
Yeah, you just hit that.
And you can do good HIIT training. It gets my heart rate up, and anyway, down and back. But want to give a big shout out to them as well. Yeah.
And also, if you are looking for a way to train for Spartan Races, the factory does have a lot of equipment monkey bars,
Okay.
a rope.
Talk about this a little bit, because these are things that I do not use at this point, but I will.
It's kind of funny. I actually also have a gym membership over there. I just don't go there as much.
Sure. Yes.
You know, I was still hesitant to get back in the gym, and one of the easiest ways for me to go was because my friends go to Impact.
Sure.
So it helps motivate me. You know, as much as, you know, sometimes we should just have the self-discipline to go. It does make it easier, but that was what drew my interest to the factory. Is they do have, you know, and I haven't seen their new outside stuff, but they've expanded so much when they moved over and became the factory.
Yes.
But they have these monkey bars that go up and over and down. They've got, I believe they have like a big net that you can climb up.
Yes,
They've
I've
got
seen
a rope. And all of those are great ways to train, especially the rope climb, because that is in a Spartan race.
Yeah.
And I had never climbed a rope.
Sure.
You know, so I didn't know how hard that would be until I got to a race, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm stronger now. I'll just muscle my way up. And every time I had to, because I don't know how to use my feet for that. But if you're looking for a great way to practice, they do have a rope there. They've got a lot of things to help you train for a Spartan.
Yeah. So check this out. There's 2 takeaways that I've already am taking away from our conversation. Number 1, before I ever even try a sprint Spartan race, and this is embarrassing, but I have to get to the point to where I can do 30 burpees. I think people overlook even the stress that puts on, and the endurance that's needed. Like 30 burpees is not easy.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when you're in the middle of a race.
Come on. Yeah.
I had to do 30 burpees twice on my first race because I failed the rope climb. That was the only time I failed the rope climb, but I got about halfway up and I just fell back down. I couldn't do it. It was at like mile 8 at the top of a mountain.
You're spent.
I was done. And then I missed the spear throw because, you know, I don't practice chucking a spear around all the time. So
when was the last time you went spear hunting?
Yeah. So, and man, I tell you, I was like, all right, 30 burpees. I said, you know, I'm sure I can do that. And it's just, even now, you know, it seems like no matter how far you are in your training, you drop and try and just do 30 burpees after you've been working out a little bit.
I couldn't do it. I mean, right
tough.
now, I could not do it. Another goal that I have, and I used to be able to bang, you know, when I was younger, bang these out, no problem. In the Marine Corps, they have it's called a 300 PFT, is a perfect physical fitness test, and it's 20 pull-ups, it's 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and then it's a 3-mile run under 18 minutes. And I was a 300 PFTer, and so, but I look forward to the day. Like, one of my goals is to be able to do pull-ups again. Oh, yeah. And a pull-up is not easy, especially if you're heavy and you haven't done them. And so every day, even though it's not a lot of weight, I'll just use the pull-down machine and trying to, you know, strengthen those muscles. But one of my goals that I will achieve is to be, and then I'll add to it from there, is to be able to just do one pull-up. And so that means I got to come down in weight, and I've just got to get stronger, you know, as a person. But so, but anyway, before I do my first race, I'm gonna have to be able to at least do 30 burpees without, you know.
That way, when you know, in case you miss something, then you at least, you know, you can bang out those burpees and keep going.
That's right. Hey, real quick, and I wanted to hit this, and then we'll just got a couple more things, but I wanted to talk to you about setbacks. Setbacks. It seems like, and this has been a ebb and a flow. This has been the thorn in my side, getting physically fit and remaining there. Like I told you I was 286. I was like, man, I need to get down to 250. I got down to 250, and then boom, I injured my calf. I tore my calf doing jump ropes. I love jump roping, but tore my calf, and it just completely demotivated me. Next thing you know, I'm back up to 265, not going to the gym, no motivation to go to the gym. But it's crazy how in life, and certainly this is a spiritual principle. If you choose to do something great for the Lord, or if you choose to do something great just in life, it's going to come with its challenges.
Yes.
It will always be challenged. And so what are some setbacks, if any, that you've faced in your goals to getting fit and taking a different look at competing in these Spartan races? What are some setbacks?
So I've had a couple.
Yeah.
After I ran in Utah in 2019, so my running form is not the best.
Okay.
Right. Coach used to tell me I ran like a ballerina. I kind of land on the outsides and then go up and in. Just really weird. And I think I did something to my knees.
Can a person change his gait?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
like I eventually I'd like to see a specialist to help me with my gait, and all the top athletes have coaches that help them with that. To just get every perfect thing down. It's amazing. Just changing the way you run can do so much.
Sure. It's easier on your body and your joints and everything else.
It is. Yeah. So, I did something in the outside of my knee, and I eventually went to a doctor because I couldn't really walk a lot. I certainly couldn't run. And they didn't see anything right off the bat. They wanted to start with physical therapy, and to be honest, I didn't go.
Sure.
I said, I'll just stop running. It's not like I do a lot of running anyways.
Right.
So I said, I'll take some time off, but that was, even when that happened, that was definitely like, well, man, what if another race came up? Like, what am I going to do? It kind of made me afraid for the next race, because I knew probably the way I was flying downhill and stuff with the wrong form. I said, I probably, did something. I said, what if this is going to be how it is because I haven't fixed my running form?
Right.
And so
a little bit discouraged.
It is discouraging because that pain, it hurt. And so I was like, man, how am I going to be able to do more races if that's what always happens? So that was one of my very first setbacks. And, eventually the pain went away. I gave it time. I let it heal. And I still do have the goal of seeing a specialist to help with that. But I do also, every time I go for a run or a ruck, I do try to make it a point to focus on my form, make sure I'm, landing, flat-footed the right way.
Just awareness.
Yeah, general awareness. So that was the first setback. The second setback, obviously, 2020 came, and like I said, I wanted to start competing. I bought a season pass so I could go to as many Spartan races as I wanted. And then what I was going to do is I would just upgrade to the age group whenever I wanted to.
Okay.
And I had planned out a bunch of races. I was still all hyped up. I planned out every race I could think of that I could possibly maybe go to. Hawaii, Canada.
I'd like to go to Hawaii.
Right? I said, hey, my first time in Hawaii, let's go do some races there. And then all around, just a handful of ones in the States. I was really excited. And obviously, COVID started hitting. So as it affected everything, we were kind of waiting to see, are these races going to happen? Are they not? And my first race was going to be back in Montana. It was going to be on my 1-year anniversary. I was going to do the ultra, 30 miles, 60 obstacles.
Wow.
Now that was a huge thing. You get a buckle instead of just normal metal. You get this big buckle.
It's called a shield.
Yeah. You wear this as a shield. Yeah. And I was just so excited, because there was still the unknown. I wasn't sure if I could do 30 miles. I said, I know I've done this, but
it's going to test you to the limits.
I said, even in cross country, I said, I never ran a 30-mile run I said, I've never done it.
Yeah.
And it got canceled. And so that was the first kind of big blow. And one by one, they kind of started canceling them. And then they canceled all of them. And so the training took, I kind of stopped training for a little bit.
Okay.
I did. I think it affected me more than I realized at the time. Mm-hmm. Friends and family kind of saw it a little bit more than I did. I think, I was a little bit depressed because I was
so
still
emotionally, man, you're
Right.
you're climbing, going,
Yeah, I
moving,
got all these big goals,
and then
moving
all of a
forward.
sudden something outside of your ability
Right.
to control is telling you, nope,
Yeah.
you're putting that on pause or stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I tried looking at it because, I knew there were so many people out there that had it so much worse, and that's how I tried to look at it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think during that time I was realizing still how much it was affecting me because I cared so much about
Sure.
racing. And so for a while, my training kind of got put on hold. And then they came out with other races. They said, we've worked around the clock. We were able to secure these other races now.
Yeah.
And so I got excited again. I was like, oh man, I'm still going to at least get a few races in. And about a week and a half later, they canceled them. It just couldn't happen.
Sure.
And I don't blame them. Spartan did everything they could that year. Obviously it hit them just as hard. And so it was just tough. But so for a while, I kind of lost that motivation. I lost the dedication. I was working out, but I wasn't feeling that drive.
Nothing really to cause you to go further, faster.
Right. Yeah, no
push
challenge.
through.
Yeah, no reason to challenge.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I didn't have a why, and
Sure.
that was
Wow, that's powerful.
so.
You lost your why.
I did lose my why, and because in the beginning my why wasn't the right why. As much as I love Spartan racing, your why needs to be the right why.
Sure.
And I thought I had a great why. I said, well, I want to train so I can do these Spartan races.
Yeah.
But what happens when Spartan races get taken away?
Right.
You need a different why. Mm-hmm. And so without one, I fell back down.
Yeah.
And that was when
Depression, anxiety, all
Yeah.
of those things are the church, we haven't really understood much about them. But certainly in the day that we live in with the pressures of COVID and everything else, just normally, I think people are more stuck in their head,
Right.
ruminating, and so anyway, I appreciate you sharing that. So, how did you climb out of that? How did you come out from that place? Did somebody just slap you and say, "Come on, man, this isn't you," or what happened?
So I started hearing a little bit about 75 hard.
Yeah,
I had seen a couple things here and there. I hadn't really known about it before. I don't think it's, it's kind of starting to become a little bit more popular.
Yes.
And some people throw their own twists on it and stuff like that. But I started kind of reading into it, and I had told some friends, like, I'm thinking about doing this just to, at the time, my first thought was, it'll physically, it's gonna bring me back.
Sure.
I'm gonna, 2 workouts a day. I said, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. I said, this is gonna bring me to a next level of physical fitness.
sure. And oh, by the way, when Spartan Races come back, I'm going to be better,
Right.
stronger, faster.
Right.
Yeah.
And so eventually I had some friends, and they said, hey, let's do this. And so September 11th, we started 75 hard.
Okay.
And as I started 75 hard,
It's a good day to start on.
it is a great day to start.
Yeah.
My mindset started changing. I had read that 75 hard is not, the physical part is a great bonus. But as Andy consistently said, he said, this is all mental. This is going to challenge you in ways you didn't think you could be challenged. Taking a photo every day, the pressure, he said, it's going to teach you self-discipline, right? And I thought, all right, well, I'm sure, whatever. Because I was focused on the physical part. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed, even just from the daily reading, right? there were so many amazing books that I read. And I used to be a big reader. I used to have trophies for reading. You ask anybody, I was the biggest bookworm out there. And I hadn't read a book in years. I had a new book, and I never even read it. And so I said, wow, 10 pages a day. I said, okay, well, I said, man, I haven't been reading at all. And after those 75 days, I'd gone through about 6 or 7 books. But some of those books they changed me. They need to be self-growth. They can't just be just a normal book.
Yeah.
So that was when I first heard about David Goggins.
Okay.
He's a former U.S. Navy SEAL.
Okay.
One of the toughest men out there that I've ever read about or seen. He went through some just extreme adversity. Went through BUD/S training 3 times.
My goodness. That's no joke.
It is no joke.
And after the first time, and if you didn't complete it, it'd be easy to walk away.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, he came back. He just mentally, he's one of the strongest men I've ever even seen. But his book, Can't Hurt Me, was the first book I read in 75 Hard.
Okay.
And then after that, I read the book 75 Hard by Andy Frisella, because he came out with a book about it.
Yeah.
And then after that, I read Discipline Equals Freedom by Jocko Willink.
I've heard of this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another former U.S. Navy SEAL. So I was trying to get these books that just, by these guys motivate. Yeah. And they did. They really helped me realize, that's when I first started realizing, like, man, my why wasn't right. It was, I need to embrace this suffering. I need to, not only just my why, but why not?
Sure.
That's something that David Goggins says.
Like that.
When people ask him, how come you're doing this? He says, because you aren't.
Uh-huh.
He says, because I'm trying to be uncommon amongst the uncommon.
Right.
And man, it lights a fire under you. And
I just got excited.
Yeah, you're like, man, let's go do 30 burpees right now. Yeah, and so I started really changing my mentality, and that's when I started. I found my right why. I started coming back from the setback, and I found another community with rucking, with Go Ruck. Where Spartan is a great community. It's a very, friendly, fun community. You get these medals. And
yes.
GoRuck reminds me of the military because a lot of the cadres there and stuff, they have a lot of special force backgrounds.
Wow.
It's a very big military background company. And you're not becoming a tribe and community from all the fun you're having. You're doing it because you're suffering together.
Sure.
You have a cadre who leads you.
That's the Marine Corps right there, man.
Right.
I mean, the reason the camaraderie is so high is because you've been through
Right.
call it the suck or whatever. You've been through it together. You made it through it together, and now you've got a bond that's just like you don't find anywhere else. Yeah.
And they use that phrase that they have in the Marine Corps, embrace the suck.
Yeah,
it's one of their quotes. And so, you get all this suffering together that you won't find somewhere else. And I haven't done a rucking event yet. That is a goal for this year. A 12-hour, there's 3 12-hour events I'm going to do, and then a 24-hour event. And man, if you watch some of those videos of the challenges that they have, the events, I watch them on Instagram sometimes. They just had one at Fort Bragg.
Wow.
And it gives you a feeling, and it takes me back to the military. Once again, it gives me a different kind of tribe, a different kind of community. Sure. So all of that helped me tremendously with this setback from COVID. It's obviously it hit everybody, and you don't have control over it. You can't. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. So, what do you do?
Yeah.
I chose to move forward.
Sure.
I chose to embrace it.
Yeah.
To embrace the suffering. To set new goals, new standards. And so that's really when I started turning things around and really getting more into my fitness, starting the 2-a-days, challenging myself. Andy says you start wanting those uncomfortable situations, and I do. Whether it's 13 degrees out, I'm out there. When it's raining, I'm out there with
You're
no
out
jacket.
there.
I embrace it.
The community's like, what? Look at
Yeah,
this
I
guy.
see all these weird looks, like when people, kind of look at me like,
I've
what's
seen
this guy
you guys
doing?
out there. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how, I ended up coming back from this setback. And the nice thing about it is, with my changed mentality, is now it doesn't matter if, like, you could tell me there's no races this year, no events for Go Ruck.
Right.
And it's not going to change what I'm doing.
Sure.
Because now I have my why, and it's
Yeah.
for me, it's for my mentality, it's to push myself beyond my limits.
Yeah.
So, races or no races, I have a plan for that now.
Yeah. Can I speak to something? Because you really struck a chord with me. And I'm just going to be what I believe to be honest. I look at a lot of men, especially, and men, we're brought up that I can shoulder this, I can overcome it, I can do it. But honestly, I think that a lot of men, we deal with more insecurities than we would ever we would ever even get comfortable, just sharing with the majority of people. And so when you were talking about, I lost my why was broken, immediately my mind went to, what about that person, that they're unhappy with, the way their life is right now. And so they set a goal, but they set the goal for the wrong reason, that, man, if I can get down to 20% body fat, or man, if I can get back to doing 20 pull-ups, or man, if I can start, if I can get down back into these jeans that I used to, I used to be able to rock, or a medium t-shirt, or whatever it is, then I'm going to be somebody valuable. And a lot of the times, when we set goals, it's because we're trying to feel a hole or an insecurity that we have. And the problem is whenever you hit it, or when there's no more races, or when I've done every race and I'm at the top of I was watching, the best of the best in Spartan last night. And, what happens when you get there, when you achieve everything that can be achieved, but you still have that insecurity. And this is where I believe that the Lord is would have me just to share to our listeners here today, that He loves you, He values you, He's got plans for you, regardless of whatever mile markers you hit. But I also believe that we're called to be I should be the best me that I can be. And I think that glorifies, it glorifies God. And so if God's saying, listen, I've got you, you need to function at this level up here, but I'm comfortable being down here, then I'm gonna stand before Him at some point, and I'm gonna give an account as to how did I steward my body. How did I take care of the one vessel that He gave me? And oh, by the way I care for this probably is going to go further than what I speak out of my mouth. It's like raising kids, and I've got a lot of experience with this, but you can tell them, listen, don't do this, don't do that, watch your mouth, don't cuss, don't do this, whatever it is. But then all of a sudden, if you're modeling something completely different, your actions are going to go much further than your words are going to go. And so, you really struck something with me when you said, man, my why was broken, because now the very thing that was motivating me was taken from me. And was I just going to go back to normal? Maybe for a period of time, but man, you overcame that. And I think that right there, sir, is something that more people, we need to, going into the challenge, we need to know that we're going to be challenged.
Oh yeah.
And failure is inevitable if we don't figure out how to overcome.
Right.
So, is there anything you want to share? And then I've got a challenge for both of us as we close. But is there anything that you want to share in regards to what we were just talking about?
I think just to encourage people. I was that person, like how I used to look at people in the gym or people in shape, and I'm like, man, if I could just be like that. Mm-hmm. And it amazes, like, I never thought that I would be where I am today. And I still have so much farther to go. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't stop. But it amazes me looking back over these couple of years how much has changed. And especially within this last half a year for me, because that's really when things started really getting dialed in and taken to the next level. But, like, I think people don't realize how much they'll love it. And I'm not saying just to be physically active, but how much it helps. Yeah. How much
every
a challenge,
other area of your life.
It does. It helps me in my job. It helps, with my mentality. It helps with my emotions. It helps the way I perform at work. With, the more self-discipline you have, the better you'll be in every other aspect of your life.
I love that.
And all it takes is practice. Mm-hmm. I know we touched on that before, where people, they have these big goals, and I think that goes into play as far as why more and more people nowadays don't want to set the goals. Because, it'd be nice to have these big goals that are like, but I can't hit that.
Mm-hmm. Before they even start.
Yep. But everyone's going to struggle in the beginning. But the more you dive into this, and the more you push, and the more you see and feel yourself changing, the more you're going to love it. Mm-hmm. And the more your life will turn around.
Yeah. There was in these Spartan races that I was watching last night, and I don't know any of their names, but you've got like the number one girl. She's been the world champion for the past 3 years. Yep. Yes, and so she's competing, and then there's the number two that's always been the number two. Yeah. And then they were doing this, this gal that had been training really, really hard. She comes around the corner, and she sees the world champion in her sights, and she sees the number two in her sights, and she's never hit the podium. Like, she's never made, first, second, or third. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, she kicks into gear, and she's like, man, I'm doing better than I thought I was doing. And they're right there. And so she had this drive to overcome them. And so I think that's true in a lot of us, that we can do more than we think we can. Yes. And just keep managing the day by day. First of all, I think have a dream, then start putting a plan together, and then take action, in manageable steps. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're going to wake up like you were. Man, I didn't see myself ever being here, but I sure like it. Right. You know what I'm saying? I sure enjoy this. So this is my challenge that we're gonna leave everybody with. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I want you. How old are you? 28. 28. 28 years old. I want you to speak to the guys that are my age, 45 to 65, 70 years old. It doesn't matter. But I want you to speak to the older guys and ladies, of course, as well. But I want you to challenge them in a way that would encourage them that they're not too old, you know what I mean, to reach dreams and goals that maybe they feel like are, just unachievable. So I'm putting you on the spot.
I'll start off with this.
You bet.
The man that holds the record in Spartan races, the one who hit the first 300 races, I believe he's 64 or 65 years old.
Come on. Wow.
And he has photos of him in his room. He's got 300 of these, and he's in his 60s.
That's
that
incredible.
Right there, when I heard that, blew me away. It's never too late. And it doesn't have to be, let me go get 300 medals. Whatever goal you have, starting a business, it's not too late.
That's right.
Getting into shape. It doesn't, maybe there's different challenges, yes, that you'll face because maybe you're older, but that's okay.
Sure.
You can overcome those challenges. It's all about changing your willpower, changing the way you think.
Yeah.
Just because you're older doesn't mean that that you're lesser.
Right. That's
You know,
exactly right.
You some of the best, people out there that I've seen in these races and stuff are older. That's okay. That's amazing. It's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I think another challenge, if you get, if you start chasing your dreams, you're also inspiring the younger people.
That's right.
When
I go to the gym, and this happens, it happened over at Impact a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the gym, and even over at Factory Fitness where I go now, I go to the gym, I see a 70-year-old in there, getting after it.
Yes.
It does. It motivates me.
It
and I'm
does.
the young one in that
Right.
situation,
Yeah.
I'm like, he's here every single day.
Yeah.
There's no reason why I can't be here every day. Yeah.
It's an inspiration. I love seeing when, I see older people at the gym or, wherever, just seeing them still chasing their dreams because it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's really not. You just have to want it.
Yes.
And then you just have to start. You start with day one and you keep going.
Just start. I want to talk to just real quickly the younger people because I'm outside of that category right now. But I gave away some of the best years of my life as far as being physically fit. In high school, I was a 3 or 4 sport athlete. I was always a very good athlete, very strong. I always pushed myself beyond, not to just be the best, but just to, can I do this? Can I
Right.
beat my last score? Can I,
Yeah.
whatever. I just always had this internal drive. I joined the Marine Corps solely because of the challenge.
Right.
And the blues looked really sharp.
Those blues do
I was
look
thinking,
good. I will
what?
say
The ladies
that.
are going to
Oh,
like
man.
the blues. And so I was very physically active, physically fit. About the time that I started having kids, of course, my focus changed and whatnot, and I totally let up on my physical activity, and I was good to gain 10 pounds a year. 10 pounds a year,
Right.
10 pounds a year. Every year I would put on 10 more pounds. And 10 pounds doesn't look like a lot in 1 year.
Right.
But over the period of 8 to 10 or 12, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It adds up. And so I would just say to the young people, don't waste your youth like I did.
Right.
If I would have continued to be disciplined, continued just to stay active, then I never would have been in the spot that I find myself in right now. So
Right.
anyway, I just want you to know, sir, that I appreciate you, and I have had a lot of fun with.
I have too. Thank you for having me here.
And I think we're going to be able to help a lot of people. Just challenge
I
them
do too.
up.
And I hope we do.
Yeah.
That's the whole. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be able to help people the way that people helped me.
Yes. So this is what I want to do is there might be somebody that tunes into this that maybe they're interested in, getting a start doing Spartan or rucking or just, getting a plan together. And sometimes it's helpful just to have somebody to contact. And so maybe I'll get your email and whatnot. And if you're all right with it, if
Yes.
there are those that, would be interested, maybe they can just contact you directly and you can help them out because I know that's a big part of what you desire to do.
That'd be great.
Cool. I want to leave everybody with a scripture. This is Philippians chapter 3 and verse 13. I think it really fits into what we're talking about today. It says this, "But one thing that I do, I forget what lies behind and I strain forward to what lies ahead. I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call in God in Christ in Christ Jesus." And so sometimes to go forward, we've got to be willing to forget the past and get motivation, certainly from the Lord, from other things. But you can do whatever you set your mind to. And I just encourage you, whatever you do, man, just honor God, glorify God through it. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
So have I.
All right. And that's a wrap.